Hi, everyone. I hope you all are enjoying listening or watching the new season of the OurView Podcast. We are happy to kick off season 5, and I thank you all again who have supported this podcast from the very beginning. And I am looking forward to sharing many new episodes with brand new guests in the coming weeks with you all. I wanted to welcome you all who may be new to the podcast, and for those who may have forgotten, just give a brief synopsis of how this podcast came to be, and also share some things that I have been up to since I did take a little bit of an extended break over the summer and the early fall. So I want you to travel back in time with me. I started the OurView company in 2010 as a way to educate, raise awareness, and change the tone of conversation about disabilities. And just to give people a different view of those who live with disabilities. So I set out to achieve this mission by facilitating assemblies in schools to discuss topics that were related to disabilities with the students, faculty, and staff. I also was presenting businesses with some workshops on how they could better serve those customers that they interact with who have disabilities. So fast forward a little bit to around October or November of 2019. At the time, I sent out 25 letters to school districts. I wanted to introduce myself and give them a chance to learn a little bit about me and just to give them an opportunity to possibly book me for an upcoming assembly for the school year that was starting, or continuing, I should say, in the winter of 2020 after the winter break. I had set a goal for myself to speak in 40 schools before the end of June of 2021. I was turning 40 in November of 2021, so I thought that would be a great goal for myself. Well, as we now know, but none of us knew back then, what awaited for us by time that March came around in 2020. When I knew I had to pivot from my original plan of speaking in schools because everything had shut down because of the pandemic, I did not want to lose sight of my mission to educate, raise awareness, and change the tone of conversation about disabilities. I knew my original plan of how I would achieve that had to look different. I also knew that I had a microphone and a computer that had a camera, and I thought that I would give podcasting a try. I started this podcast in June of 2020, and fast forward to present day, I have 89 episodes out and starting season 5. In those episodes, I spoke with people from all around the world who wanted to share their stories of living with a disability, or how through their profession they help those who live with disabilities. The season 5 of the OurView podcast, you have already heard a few episodes from some great guests, and there are plenty more episodes to come, so please stay tuned for brand new guests coming up in the coming weeks. If you are a consistent follower of the podcast, I'm sure you noticed that I was missing in action over the summer and the very first part of the fall season. I took an extended break from recording the podcast, but I am back now, and I am working my way toward recording my 100th episode of the podcast, and I could not be more thrilled about that. I have enjoyed every second of producing these episodes, the guests I have met, the connections I have made, and the new friendships I have formed are all worth the time that goes into making this podcast happen. I am not one who enjoys talking about myself, so that is why most of my podcast episodes have guests on them. But I am using this episode, and probably the one that will come after this, to share with you all some of the things that I was up to over the summer, and also some of the stories in the news that involved people with disabilities that caught my attention over the last few months. One of my favorite and most memorable summer experiences took place for me back in June when I took my very first trip to Maine. My friends Corey and Jamie invited me to spend a week with them and their 2 children at their family home in Maine. I have known Corey since we were in middle school. She and her entire family have been so kind to me throughout the years, and her husband Jamie has been someone I have been able to call a friend since the moment we met. Their children call me Uncle Art, and the week I spent with them in Maine is just something I will never forget. Corey once gave me a small frame that still hangs in my front room here at my apartment, and it says that friendship isn't a big thing, it's a million little things. And this perfectly sums up our friendship. On our trip to Maine, we spent a lot of time outside enjoying the scenery. We took a few ferry rides, one over to Vinyl Haven Island, and of course we had Maine lobster for dinner one night, and I already can't wait to go back. I'm looking forward to going back with them sometime in the very near future. And if you follow me on Instagram, you have hopefully have seen the reels that I posted over there after I returned back from that trip of some of the things that we did and the great time that we had there. And also, if you're watching this podcast episode on YouTube, I am sure I will be adding in photos and some videos of things that we did on this episode as well on the YouTube channel. So be sure to go over there and check that out. I was able to get back to doing one of my favorite things this summer as well, which is going to see concerts. And as a lot of people will tell you, I often joke that I am truly an 80-year-old man inside. I went to see Gladys Knight and Earth, Wind, and Fire this summer at two outdoor venues in the local area of where I live. They have some outdoor venues, and I was able to take in those two concerts over the summer. So that was really what kept me busy this summer, and I definitely had a lot of fun. Our family experienced two very significant losses over the beginning of the fall in September and then again in October. Two of my aunts passed away, so that really kind of took me for a loop a lot. Really sad time for so many of us, and I just really wasn't in the mood to record at that time, so I just continued to give myself a break, and it was something that I definitely needed to do for myself, so I was able to do that. So this episode and this season is going to be dedicated to my two aunts, my Aunt Elaine and my Aunt Shirley. So I hope you both continue to rest in peace and know that so many of us miss you here, and we all think of you often and still talk about you and laugh and share some great stories about you all that we have in our minds and our memories. And that brought me up to my most wonderful time of the year, my birthday month of November. I enjoy my birthday every year when it comes around. This year was year 41, and I enjoyed myself, as the Jacksons would say. I did what I have done for the last few years. I hosted a charitable birthday event to raise money for Build Jake's Place, and a group of 35 of us went to go see the Tina Turner musical over in Philadelphia. It was the Broadway touring cast of that production. So we went there, and then a week after my birthday, on December 2nd, which is my mom's birthday, she and I went up to Boston, Massachusetts to see my favorite female artist of all time, Patti LaBelle. We had front row accessible seats to this concert, and through some of my great friends who I have met at other Patti LaBelle concerts in years past, she gave us a shout out from the stage and wished my mom a happy birthday, and she also gave my mom some calla lilies. So it was a great birthday month, and I wrapped it up just this past weekend at the Giants and Eagles game up in the Meadowlands in North Jersey at the MetLife Stadium where the Giants play their home games. Went with my best friend Violet, and although it was terribly cold and raining, we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. And the Eagles pulled off a win, securing their spot in the playoffs. So I'm really excited about that. And I am looking forward to the holiday season with friends and family and creating new experiences in the new year. So I just wanted to share this brief recap, I guess you could say, of where I've been. And I originally planned to put this out as my first episode of the season, but I figured this would be a good time to put out this episode, and the episode that is coming is where I will share a little bit more about some of the news stories that caught my attention over the last few months that involved people with disabilities. And then most likely I will be taking a brief break from posting episodes during the Christmas holiday season, and we'll return with brand new episodes in early July. So I thank you all for your support and just sharing the podcast, and be sure that you continue to share the podcast and information about OurView and what we do. Follow us on social media. You can find us on all social media platforms at OurView for Life. That's OurView, the number 4, LIFE. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can find all video versions of the OurView podcast. You can search for the OurView podcast on YouTube, and you will see our channel pop up. I am also happy to share that the OurView podcast is available on the Dime Network, which is the Disability Media Network. It is a streaming app that you can download on your Roku TV and your Fire TV, and it can also be streamed online at their website. The Disability Media Network is a streaming app that features news, entertainment, and lifestyle programming created by or including people with disabilities. So this is a great opportunity for you to view some content that features and is created by those who have disabilities. And the first 2 seasons of the OurView podcast are currently streaming on that platform now, so you can check that out when you have a chance. Again, thank you all for your support. I truly appreciate you all, and I am grateful for your support, and just wish you all the best in the upcoming holiday season, and enjoy your time with your families. And I will be back with a brand new episode next week on the 19th, and then we're taking a 2-week break for the holiday, but we'll return with another brand new episode on January 9th. So you all take care. You will be hearing from me soon. This concludes this episode of the OurView Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on all social media platforms at OurView for Life. That's OurView, the number 4, LIFE. If you have a topic or a person, or if you are a person who would like to be interviewed for an upcoming episode of the podcast, send us a DM on Instagram, send us a message on Facebook, or you can email me at ourviewforlife@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.